Before I say a single word, I want you to take a breath, because what is about to happen in this room has already been written. You didn't stumble into this moment by accident. You were guided here, called here, chosen here. There is a force, unseen, ancient and deeply intelligent, that has been watching your journey. Every door that closed, every dream that felt too big, every voice that told you, not now, not ever. It was all preparation, because the universe does not waste a willing soul. And right now, at this exact intersection of time and destiny, something extraordinary is aligning itself around you. A door is opening, a hand is being extended, and the offer that's coming is not for everyone. It never is. It is only for the ones who were ready to receive it. So brace yourself, not with fear, but with faith, because a powerful person is about to step into your life, and nothing will ever look the same again. There is something that has been true about you long before you had the words to describe it. Long before you understood why certain rooms felt too small for you, why certain conversations left you hollow, why certain versions of your life, though comfortable, though safe, never quite felt like yours. You have always carried something inside you that the ordinary world could not fully contain. A pull, a knowing, a quiet but relentless whisper that kept saying, there is more, there is more, there is more. Most people silence that whisper. They trade it for security, for approval, for the familiar warmth of a life that fits inside the lines. But you never could fully silence it. And that is not a coincidence. That is a clue. The truth that most people are never bold enough to accept is that not everyone is built for the same destiny. Not everyone is wired for the same level of impact, the same scale of contribution, the same magnitude of life. This is not arrogance. This is not superiority. This is simply the architecture of purpose, and purpose, unlike talent, unlike intelligence, unlike wealth, cannot be manufactured. It cannot be borrowed. It cannot be faked. It either lives inside you or it does not. And the fact that you have spent your entire life feeling a gap between where you are and where you know you are supposed to be, that gap is not your failure. That gap is your fingerprint. That gap is the shape of the calling that has been assigned to your soul. You were chosen before you made a single choice, before you built your resume, before you developed your skills, before you learned the language of success or ambition or possibility. Something far greater than human logic had already marked you. There are people in this world who move through life as though they are discovering their path as they walk it. And then there are people who, no matter how lost they become, no matter how many detours they take, no matter how deep into distraction or doubt or darkness they wander, always find their way back to the same thread. You are that second kind of person. You have always been that second kind of person. Think about the moments in your life when everything should have fallen apart and somehow didn't. Think about the times you were in the wrong place with the wrong people, making the wrong decisions, and yet something intervened, something redirected. Something, quietly and without announcement, refused to let you settle permanently below your potential. Most people call that luck. Most people call it coincidence. But luck does not follow patterns. Coincidence does not repeat itself with intention. What has been following you, protecting you, redirecting you, is purpose with a plan. And purpose with a plan does not choose randomly. The chosen are not chosen because they are perfect. They are chosen because they are persistent. They are chosen because underneath all the doubt, underneath all the noise, underneath all the masks they wear to survive in a world that did not always understand them, there is an ember that will not die. An ember that survives every storm, every failure, every season of feeling invisible. That ember is not yours to take credit for. It was placed inside you, ignited inside you, protected inside you. Your only job, your singular sacred responsibility, has been to not let the world talk you into blowing it out. And here is what I need you to understand with everything in you. The reason you are sitting in this room, in this seat, hearing these words at this precise moment in your life is not random. The universe does not send messengers to empty houses. It does not arrange extraordinary moments for ordinary intentions. It does not illuminate a path for someone who was never meant to walk it. Every experience that broke you open, every relationship that revealed your strength, every version of yourself you had to leave behind, it was all movement. It was all motion in one direction. Toward this, toward here, toward the moment where the life you were chosen for finally introduces itself, looks you in the eye, and says, every offer that has ever changed a life came with a window. Not a door that stays open indefinitely, not an invitation that waits patiently on a shelf collecting dust, not an opportunity that circles back around every time you finally feel ready. A window. Narrow, specific, and governed by a clock that does not negotiate. The greatest moments of transformation in human history, personal, financial, spiritual, were not seized by the most qualified person in the room. They were seized by the person who understood that hesitation is not wisdom, that waiting is not strategy, that the voice inside you saying, "Let me think about it a little longer," is not caution, it is fear, wearing the costume of reason. We have been taught, most of us, from a very young age, that patience is always a virtue, that good things come to those who wait. And while there is profound truth in that for certain seasons of life, there is a catastrophic misapplication of that principle that has cost more people more opportunity than almost any other belief on earth. Because there is a difference, a critical life-altering difference, between waiting in faith while you grow and waiting in fear while the moment passes. One is preparation, the other is procrastination dressed in spiritual language. And the universe, as generous as it is, as patient as it is with your becoming, is not obligated to hold every door open forever. Think about the offers you have already let expire. Not the small ones, not the minor conveniences you passed on and forgot about by Tuesday. Think about the ones that kept you awake. The ones that made your heart accelerate before your mind could intervene. The ones that felt so aligned with everything you had been privately praying for, that the alignment itself frightened you. Think about what you told yourself in those moments. You told yourself you needed more time, more certainty, more evidence that it was real, that it was safe, that it was guaranteed. And while you were collecting that evidence, while you were waiting for the fear to dissolve on its own, the window closed. Not with a slam, not with drama, just a quiet, gentle, irreversible closing, and then silence, where possibility used to live. The offer that is coming toward you now is not the first extraordinary thing that has ever been placed in your path, but it may be the most important. And the reason it carries that weight is not simply because of what it contains, it is because of who you have become by the time it is arriving. Every previous version of you that let the window close was not ready. There is grace in that. There is mercy in the fact that certain doors did not open until your hands were strong enough to push them, until your mind was expanded enough to walk through them, until your spirit had been refined enough by fire and failure and faith to actually sustain what was waiting on the other side. But that grace has a graduation point, and you have reached it. The people who change their lives, truly, permanently, at the root level, are not the ones who were given more time than everyone else. They are the ones who made a decision at the exact moment the decision was available to be made. They felt the same fear. They carried the same uncertainty. They had the same internal war between the voice that said leap and the voice that said wait. The only difference, the only separation between the life they had and the life they stepped into was a single moment of willingness, a single exhale of all the reasons why not. A single step taken before the mind could manufacture another excuse, another condition, another delay that would have felt responsible but would have cost them everything. Time is the one resource that does not replenish. Every other deficit in your life, money, knowledge, connection, confidence, can be rebuilt, recovered, expanded. But a moment that passes does not return wearing the same clothes. The version of this offer that exists right now, in this room, in this season of your life, it has never existed before in exactly this form. And it will not exist again in exactly this form. The clock on it is not cruel, it is simply honest. And honesty, when you are finally ready to receive it fully, feels less like a threat and more like an invitation to stop shrinking from the life that was always meant to be yours. There is a pattern that separates the people who ascend in life from the people who spend their entire existence waiting to be noticed. It is not talent, it is not timing, it is not even effort. Though effort matters deeply, it is something far more subtle, far more powerful, and far more telling about the internal architecture of a person. It is the energy they carry into every room, the frequency they broadcast without saying a single word, the invisible signal they emit that tells the universe, tells the room, tells every powerful person in their proximity, whether they are someone worth investing in, worth mentoring, worth extending a hand toward, worth making an offer to. Power recognizes power, always, without exception, and it never chases what it recognizes, it invites it. This is a truth that the desperate never discover and the patient always prove. When you move through the world from a place of need, when your hunger is visible, when your lack is louder than your value, when every interaction is secretly a transaction designed to extract something from someone, you repel the very thing you are reaching for. Not because powerful people are cold, not because the universe is punishing you, but because need, at its core, broadcasts a frequency of incompleteness. And incompleteness does not attract investment. It attracts pity. It attracts temporary charity. It attracts people who want to feel superior by helping someone beneath them. But it never, not once, not ever, attracts the kind of powerful, transformative, life-altering connection that actually changes the trajectory of a human life. The people who receive extraordinary offers are not the ones who were loudest in the room. They were not the ones who marketed themselves most aggressively, who forced themselves into conversations, who manufactured visibility through desperation. They were the ones who showed up so completely, so authentically, so rooted in the certainty of their own value, that the room noticed them without being asked to. Power does not need to announce itself. Competence does not need to beg for attention. When you are genuinely, deeply aligned with your purpose, when you are operating from the fullness of who you are, rather than the anxiety of who you are not, you become magnetic in a way that no strategy, no tactic, no personal branding formula can replicate. You stop chasing, and the right things start finding you. Think about the most powerful person you have ever encountered in your life. Not powerful in the shallow sense, not loud, not flashy, not performing their authority for a crowd, truly powerful. The kind of person whose presence rearranges the energy of a room the moment they enter it. Think about how they moved. Think about how they spoke, measured, intentional, never frantic. Think about how they listened, fully, without the restless impatience of someone waiting for their turn to speak. Think about how they made decisions from a place of clarity rather than pressure. What you were witnessing in that person was not luck. It was not privilege, though privilege sometimes exists alongside it. What you were witnessing was someone who had done the internal work to become undeniable, and undeniable people do not chase. The world arranges itself around them. This is what you must understand about the offer that is coming toward you. It is not arriving because you finally found the right words. It is not arriving because you marketed yourself correctly, or positioned yourself strategically, or said exactly the right thing to exactly the right person at exactly the right moment. It is arriving because of who you have quietly, persistently, in the unseen hours of your becoming, decided to be. Every moment you chose integrity, when dishonesty would have been easier. Every moment you chose growth, when comfort was available. Every moment you invested in your mind, your character, your capacity, your spirit, when no one was watching. When no reward was immediately visible, when the only audience was your own conscience, you were building something. Not a resume, not a reputation, something deeper. Something that powerful people can feel before you open your mouth. You were not supposed to go looking for this. You were supposed to become the kind of person this finds. And that is exactly what you did. That is exactly what all of that refinement, all of that resistance, all of that relentless inner work was building toward. Not a moment where you finally chase down what you deserve, but a moment where what you deserve walks across the room, looks at you with full recognition, and extends its hand, not out of obligation, not out of charity, but out of the undeniable, magnetic, universe-orchestrated certainty that you are here, is keynote number 4. Expanded, 700 words, no headings, no closing lines. There is a moment, and most people miss it, because it does not arrive with fanfare. It does not announce itself with ceremony. It does not give you time to prepare a response, or consult your fears, or ask permission from the people around you. There is a moment where a decision is made, and from that decision forward, 2 entirely different lives branch off in 2 entirely different directions. One life continues on the road that was already built, familiar, predictable, lined with the same scenery that has always surrounded you. The other life begins on ground that has never been walked before. Uncertain, expansive, demanding everything from you and offering everything in return. Most people stand at that fork and choose the familiar road, not because it is better, not because it makes them happier, but because the old life, however small, however suffocating, however far beneath their potential, is already paid for. And the new life requires a currency they are not sure they possess, the currency of total, irreversible, no going back commitment. What no one tells you about transformation is that it does not begin when the new thing arrives. It begins when you release the old thing. And releasing the old thing is not a gentle, graceful, poetic process the way it is described in books and speeches and highlight reels. It is a rupture. It is a grief. It is the disorienting, groundless, terrifying sensation of no longer being the person you spent years becoming before you have fully become the person you are stepping into. That space in between is the most dangerous place in any transformation. It is where most people retreat. It is where most people decide that the old life, for all its limitations, was at least something they understood, and so they return, not with joy, but with relief. The cheap, temporary, quietly devastating relief of choosing comfort over calling. But here is what lives on the other side of that retreat, and this is something you need to sit with, something you need to let land in the deepest part of your understanding. On the other side of that retreat lives a version of you that slowly, silently, over months and years and decades, stops believing in itself. Every time a person returns to a life they have already outgrown, they send a message to their own soul. The message is not loud. It is not dramatic. It simply says, I do not trust myself enough to survive the unknown. And the soul, which has been faithful and patient and relentlessly hopeful on your behalf, receives that message, and it adjusts. It dims. Not all at once, but gradually, with every retreat, with every return to the familiar, with every moment of choosing comfort over expansion, the light inside you that was always meant to guide you toward your greatness gets quieter, gets smaller, gets harder to hear above the noise of a life that was never designed to contain you. The person you are about to become does not coexist with the person you have been. This is the part that requires every ounce of courage you have ever built, because the human mind craves continuity. It craves the story of a self that remains consistent, recognizable, safe. And transformation, real transformation, the kind that permanently elevates the entire direction of your life, is not consistent. It is not recognizable. It asks you to look at the identity you have been carrying, the story you have been telling about who you are and what you deserve and what is possible for someone like you. And it asks you to set it down. Not because that identity was wrong, not because the person you were was not worthy, but because that person was a vessel for a season that has now ended. And you cannot carry the vessel of the past into the territory of the future without it leaking everything the future is trying to fill you with. Your old life ending is not a loss. It is a graduation. It is the universe confirming, in the most concrete, tangible, undeniable way possible, that the version of you that struggled and doubted and fought and held on through every dark season has done its job, has served its purpose, has brought you with extraordinary precision to this exact coordinate in time and space, Everything you built in that old life was not wasted. It was the foundation for what comes next. And so I leave you with this. The chosen do not wait for permission. They do not wait for perfect conditions. They do not wait for fear to disappear. They simply say yes to the offer, to the moment, to the version of themselves that has been waiting patiently behind every closed door. Your old life has ended. Your new life is standing right in front of you. The only thing left to do is step into it, fully, boldly, without looking back. If this message moved something inside you, like this video, drop a comment below telling me what shifted for you, and subscribe, because what is coming next will change your life even further.